Good day. I am a physician. There is now a blood test that detects Alzheimer's 20 years early. What if a simple blood test could reveal whether Alzheimer's is silently building inside your brain today? What if, armed with that knowledge, you could intervene aggressively enough to fundamentally change the outcome ahead? That test exists right now, and the overwhelming majority of people over 50 have never heard of it. It is called pTau-217, and today I am going to tell you everything your doctor has not. Alzheimer's disease is the single biggest health fear among adults over 50, consistently ranking above cancer itself. That overwhelming fear paradoxically paralyzes patients into doing absolutely nothing to protect themselves from it in advance. They refuse testing, convinced that a positive result is automatically an irreversible death sentence with no options remaining. The truth is radically different. Because modern neuroscience has entered a completely new era of predictive diagnostics today, we can now detect the molecular signature of Alzheimer's disease decades before the first memory symptom ever appears. We explain exactly which blood biomarkers reveal hidden brain decay before you forget a single name or face. We detail the precise action plan that transforms a positive result from a fatal diagnosis into a strategic advantage. Number 6. APOE4, GFAP, and pTau-217. 3 blood biomarkers now detect Alzheimer's pathology up to 20 years early. For decades, the only reliable pre-symptom detection required a large needle inserted directly into your spinal canal. That invasive lumbar puncture era is completely over because scientists have now validated 3 revolutionary blood-based biomarkers. APOE4 is a genetic marker that identifies individuals carrying the highest hereditary risk of developing Alzheimer's disease. GFAP, or glial fibrillary acidic protein, detects active neuroinflammation and astrocyte damage deep within your brain structure. -217 directly measures the misfolded protein tangles that physically strangle and kill neurons across the brain network. These tangles are the exact pathological hallmark of Alzheimer's disease and appear decades before any memory symptom emerges. All 3 markers are now measurable from a standard routine blood draw ordered during a regular medical appointment. Together, they can collectively identify Alzheimer's pathology up to 20 years before you forget a single person's name. Ask your doctor specifically for pTau, -217, and GFAP by name, because they will not offer them automatically. Number 5. The fear factor. Diagnostic avoidance kills more Alzheimer's patients than ignorance of the disease itself ever has. Understanding why millions of eligible patients refuse to test themselves is just as important as the test itself. The psychological terror surrounding Alzheimer's creates a documented clinical phenomenon researchers formally call diagnostic avoidance behavior. People would literally rather not know and confront the possibility of a future cognitive collapse on any level. They convince themselves that ignorance is preferable to a result that might fundamentally change how they see themselves. But this avoidance is medically catastrophic because every year of undetected pathology is a year of irreversible neuronal death. By the time you visibly forget your grandchildren's names, your brain has already lost an enormous volume of tissue. The window for the most meaningful interventions has already closed permanently by the time clinical symptoms become noticeable. The fear of a positive result is the single most dangerous obstacle between you and a survivable trajectory. Facing the test is not an act of resignation. It is the bravest and most strategic medical decision possible. Number 4. 40% is preventable. The Lancet Commission proved nearly half of all dementia cases can be delayed. The Lancet Commission on Dementia published a landmark analysis that completely changes how we think about a positive result. Their exhaustive research proved that nearly 40% of all global dementia cases could be prevented or substantially delayed. This means a positive blood test result is not a death sentence. It is a critical strategic alert. You are not told that you will definitely develop Alzheimer's disease at a specific point in time. You are told you carry elevated risk, and here are the specific biological levers you can pull today. You have been handed a 20-year runway to make targeted changes that dramatically alter your neurological trajectory forward. Knowledge transforms a passive and terrified victim into an aggressive and strategically empowered defender of their own brain. Early testing followed by action is statistically the most effective available approach to Alzheimer's prevention in current medicine. The 40% statistic means that what you do in the next 5 years genuinely matters enormously. If you find this science-based breakdown helpful, please click subscribe and tap the notification bell right now. It only takes absolutely 1 second, but ensures you never miss the next video in this series. Number 3. Early warning signs families dismiss. The first sign of Alzheimer's is almost never memory loss at all. The first clinical sign of Alzheimer's is almost never memory loss, and this surprises every family without exception. It is financial mismanagement, and it appears 3 to 5 years before any noticeable memory problem emerges publicly. Paying the same bill twice, making impulsive purchases, or missing critical utility payments for months are the early signals. These executive function failures precede memory complaints because the prefrontal cortex degrades before the hippocampus in most cases. Another extraordinarily early biomarker is the loss of olfactory discrimination, the inability to distinguish between familiar everyday smells. An inability to differentiate coffee from gasoline or vinegar from orange juice is a measurable neurological warning sign. If a family member repeats the exact same story multiple times within one conversation, without any awareness, act now. This repetition is not a charming personality quirk. It is a direct clinical indicator of hippocampal pathology. Never dismiss these early signs as aging or stress without first requesting a baseline blood biomarker panel immediately. We know the blood tests exist, and we know that nearly half of all dementia cases are preventable. But if someone tests positive today, what exactly must happen in the next 6 months to change outcomes? Number 2. The 7 modifiable factors. These 7 interventions each independently reduce Alzheimer's risk after a positive biomarker result. If you or a loved one tests positive for elevated Alzheimer's biomarkers, the response must be systematic and aggressive. The Lancet Commission identified 7 independently modifiable risk factors that each contribute meaningfully and measurably to dementia onset. Untreated hearing loss is the single most impactful and most commonly overlooked modifiable factor on the entire list. Uncontrolled midlife blood pressure damages cerebral blood vessels for decades before any cognitive symptom appears on the surface. Chronic sleep disruption prevents the glymphatic system from flushing out the toxic amyloid plaques accumulating inside your brain. Physical inactivity systematically starves the brain of the fresh blood flow required for normal maintenance and repair daily. Social isolation triggers sustained neurotoxic stress hormones that actively shrink the hippocampus, the center of all memory formation. Lack of continued novel intellectual education halts the neural pathway creation that builds your cognitive reserve over time. Unmanaged metabolic disease, especially diabetes, directly poisons the neuronal environment with chronic glucose toxicity every single day. Number 1. What to do with a positive result. A positive pTau-217 result is a 20-year strategic advantage. A positive pTau-217 or elevated GFAP result is not a death sentence and should never be treated as one. It is a 20-year strategic advantage, and it gives you the rarest possible gift in modern medicine today. Immediately initiate aggressive cardiovascular risk control by targeting blood pressure, cholesterol below 70, and tight blood sugar management. Begin a structured cognitive training program that forces genuine novel neural pathway creation for at least 15 minutes daily. Pursue a formal social prescription that guarantees consistent, emotionally enriching human interaction every single day, without exception, Or consider enrolling in one of the rapidly expanding Alzheimer's prevention clinical trials, specifically recruiting pre-symptomatic biomarker-positive individuals today. These trials exist specifically for people like you. People who know their risk and are willing to fight it. You have been given time and knowledge simultaneously, which is something late-stage patients would give everything to possess. Use both of those gifts with absolute urgency, because the window to act most effectively is right now. For too long, the world treated Alzheimer's as an unpreventable and unstoppable force of nature beyond all human influence. That clinical era is completely over, and we now have blood tests that see 20 years into the future. We also have a scientifically validated prevention framework that can dramatically and measurably alter the trajectory of your brain. Knowledge is not your enemy in this fight. Ignorance is, and it has always been, the real disease. At your very next medical appointment, ask your doctor specifically about pTau-217 and GFAP blood biomarker testing. The answer may temporarily terrify you, or it may liberate you from decades of undefined and paralyzing fear. Either way, it gives you something denial never could, which is the power to fight back. Subscribe, tap like, drop a comment below, and share this video with someone you love.